So my name is Pierre Castonguay. I am the owner with my wife, well actually my wife's really the owner of the Nest Yoga on 22 King Street. And, sorry, you can move my stuff and just...
Oh, no, can we just sit down here?
Yeah, sure. Great. Good morning. We're just starting. So, as I said, my wife and I own the Nest Yoga on King Street. Obviously, we do yoga. We sell Lululemon, which is quite popular with our clients, our staff, but it's also quite popular with our non-staff and our non-clients. And I know some of you as businesses have the same issue, the non-clients, as I call them, that are, disrupting your business. And today, hopefully, we can kind of talk a bit about those issues, the challenges we have, and how we can best practice them, how we can address them collectively, because it's a bit of a shared problem that we have on this. I just want to welcome the mayor this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your visit. So what we're looking at is a 90-minute session this morning. This is kind of the quick agenda. I'll do an introduction, which I'm doing now. We'll do the training portion. Then we have a member of the St. John Police Force, and they'll talk about their new unit. We'll question and answers and a wrap up, and we'll have you out of here by 10 o'clock, right? So you can go on your day. Before I kind of pass it on to our speakers, how did we get to this training session, right? How did we get here today? Kind of what we know is, looking at the police annual reports, property crime, break and enters, mischief, fraud, thefts, up 27% in the last 2 years, according to the St. John Police Force annual reports, right? That's a staggering number. And, Uptown businesses, and if you're here and you're a business owner or you're a staff member, frontline worker, you see it. You see it, weekly, monthly. You see the vandalisms, you see the mischiefs, the broken windows, the theft. Maybe you're dealing with the loitering, unwanted individuals, and you're trying to find a bathroom or into your lobbies. We're all facing it. So some of you might have been there, but last summer, Uptown St. John did a public gathering of business owners at Gahan House. Sergeant Jeremy Edwards was there answering questions, explaining the challenges of the police force dealing with this. And a lot of business owners were there. I forget how many, Nancy, but there was like 40 people there, or 40, 50? Yeah. And, there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of frustration. Good morning. Come on down. There was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of storytelling. And just a lot of emotions in that room. But from that, something did happen. People say, well, I don't know, nothing happened. Well, it did. Through Uptown, we created this focus group, a safety focus group. And the group is made up of, obviously, Nancy Tissington from Uptown, Shelley the Merchant from the Urban Shoemouth, Jill Lasky-Perry from the Blue Pelican in the Market, Kathy Smith from the Hardman Group, and thank you to the Hardman Group because they've provided this space free of charge for us for yesterday and today, and myself from the Nest Yoga. And we kind of got together through Uptown and started having the conversation saying, okay, what did we hear at this public forum? Like what can we do as business owners collectively, or what should we do? What do we want to do? So we kind of gave ourselves our own purpose and our own mandate, if you will. But really, it just comes down to we want to enhance safety and security in Uptown. Like it's written a little bit more than that, but we want a safer environment for our customers, for our staff, for our clients, right? And obviously, we want to promote overall economic vitality. So we gave ourselves this purpose, and then we said, well, what can we do? We're just a small group, limited funds. We don't want to, So we said, well, we need to create a Facebook group, and we did. Although after yesterday's conversation, maybe Facebook's not the right thing. Maybe we need a different platform. We wanted to provide training. I know at the Nest, I was always like, we need to show our staff or train our staff, but I don't have that expertise. So how can we provide some training? Which is why we have our speakers today and had the session yesterday as well. And we need to figure out, do we need to approach the St. John Police Force or City Hall to have like a bigger public forum or a town hall on this and put pressure on them, or actually that they hear firsthand from that evening at Gahan House with all that energy and frustration, that they hear firsthand what we are living as business owners and what actions can be done collectively, right? And I keep saying collectively, I mean, we've had this conversation in our committee, like, is this our problem? Is it the police's problem? Is it the city's problems? It's really a collective problem, right? I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. I worked at Legal Aid, and senior lawyer used to say all the time, it's not our fault, but it's our problem. And at Legal Aid, we inherited a lot of people's problems, and it wasn't our fault. And I feel this is the same situation we are in as business owners or employees dealing with this. We didn't create this, but it is our current reality, and we have to address it. So we can't just pass it on collectively. We have to look at it. Now, I'll come back to that at the end, the idea of our, where we want to go next, because yesterday kind of gave me a bit more insight about that. And there is an opportunity coming up for us to have a voice with the St. John Police Force, and we'll talk about that. Our speakers today, Don and Theresa Spicer, they are consultants from Halifax. They do communications consulting, they do public safety consulting. They also teach at the Dalhousie University on communications. And individually, Don is a retired police officer, 35 years in policing, 40 years really in public safety, lots of expertise dealing with these issues. And Theresa is a communications expert, over 30 years in the communications industry, but she did a lot of work with the Halifax Police Force, educating citizens on crime prevention, supporting public safety initiatives. So collectively, they really bring a lot of knowledge about dealing with these issues and maybe how to, as Theresa's background in communications, how we can maybe assemble and work together. Very happy to have Michelle Bowes from the St. John Police Force today. She was stuck in court yesterday, I hear. Oh, that's okay. That's part of your job too. Michelle is here. She's going to talk about this new initiative by the city, the Community Engagement Quick Reaction Team. It is a mouthful. SWAT would have been so much more intimidating, but it's probably used already. But we're super happy. This is something that, our committee just got aware of eventually, but when I talk about, engaging the police and the city, this is a huge initiative by the city, and I thank the mayor and I thank the city for doing it. It's about $460,000 of investment into this pilot project. So thank you, Michelle, for being here, and I look forward to hearing a bit more about what that's going to look like. And already we've seen it. I mean, I know at our studio we've had visits from your crew, and it's really being welcomed by the Uptown community. So I'm going to turn it over to Don. We're a small group, we're an intimate group. Ask your questions as we go along, ask for clarity, provide input. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. Today's not the public forum, right? Today's not the day we want to hear about how we're upset with the police didn't respond, it took too long. That's not today, that's for the public forum or a town hall kind of thing. Today I'm kind of looking more for a training and questions on how to best do it. And if you have input on something you guys have implemented that really works well for your store, your business, or for your staff, we'd love to hear that as well at the right time. Just saying something this really kind of, changed how we deal with the public. So I'm going to turn it over to Don to get us on the training part. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Pierre as well as Nancy for inviting us here to speak with you today, and thank you all for giving us your time. Before I get started, I'd just like to say, first of all, this is not a panacea. It's not going to cure all your problems, I wish we could. But this is simply one tool in your tool belt of many that you can help to apply to help reduce the fear of crime or the potential for crime and and improve your personal safety in your community. Some of the tips we talk about here today are geared towards store owners. Some will be geared towards frontline staff and managers. But it's important for everybody to hear it, and it's important to keep in mind that you're all in this together collectively. Pierre mentioned it's not your fault, but it is your problem. It's also the problem of the police. It's a problem of the city. It goes beyond that. It's a problem of the province. Because what I've always said to people, crime itself is not a problem. And they used to look at me like I'm crazy. I'm at a town hall meeting. They're complaining about crime. I said, it's a symptom of bigger problems. And a lot of those problems are addictions, mental health, homelessness, lack of affordable housing, all things that you as a community can't control, your city can't even control. But it's important to know that, and it's important that everybody focuses on those bigger problems, because if you just deal with the symptoms, same as a medical condition, if you only deal with your symptoms, you're not going to cure your illness. That's my rant for the day. Okay, we'd like to hear from you first. So this is a Mentimeter. If you've never used it, if you can scan that with the camera of your phone, it should take you to a short poll. And Theresa, if you could just keep an eye, make sure everybody can get in, because I need to get off the screen. We're good?
Everyone have a chance to answer yet?
Or at least get logged in.
Still a few phones up, I think.
The screen was rather bright. It took a while.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, very much like yesterday, the number one concern was personal safety, followed by theft and robbery and how to prevent it. A little bit on legal rights. Nobody picks store safe design, but that's kind of a confusing one. It's really just talking about how you can physically lay out your store so that you're less likely to be victimized by crime. As luck would have it, we're going to cover all of those today. We're going to skip over the About Us because Pierre did such a great job. Thank you, Pierre. We're going to look at internal crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED, and that's the safe store design that we talked about. We'll go into some theft and robbery prevention tips, personal safety, legal rights, and then look at best practices and potential solutions. And when we talk about those potential solutions, we talked about this at coffee this morning with Pierre and Nancy, and really, we do want to hear from you because you're living it, and we're going to present a number of them, but if there's things that you've done that are not on these lists that have worked for you, feel free to share them, because your neighbor or someone from your neighboring store may not have known about those, and it could help to improve their safety as well. Okay, we're going to start with crime prevention through environmental design. And these are two storefront windows. I didn't want to take photos of windows here in St. John or anywhere else and out anybody for good or bad, but so these are stock photos, the one on the left and the one on the right. If you were a criminal or thinking about committing a crime, which of these two stores would you feel more comfortable in? I hear most people agreeing that the one on the left. I guess it's obvious, but why would that be?
Nobody can see what we're up to in there.
It's very true. And I walk through neighborhoods, and these are what I'm always looking at, and I'm thinking, oh, well, look at this, and this is, they could change this subtly or something. And when I see one like the left, it's great because it shows you all kinds of posters and everything that maybe want to entice you into the store, but nobody has any idea what's going on in that store. And in fact, in some cases, they wouldn't even know if it was open. So nobody has any reason to pay any attention to that one, whereas the other one is clear and you can see right to the back of the store. If there was anything untoward happening in that store, people walking by are going to see it. And that's really what CPTED is all about, and store design is all about. How can you get legitimate eyes that would know if there's something wrong going on and they could alert police? So the principles of CPTED is, in particular, is that if the greater the risk of being seen or caught, the less likely somebody's going to commit a crime. The greater effort involved in completing that crime, the less likely they're going to do it. And the lesser the reward, the less likely they're going to commit the crime. And those are the things that we're going to touch on in the next few slides. First one is natural surveillance. So as we mentioned in the last slide, keep your windows clear of posters, clutter to maximize visibility inside and out. Use ample lighting inside and out, especially at entrances and exits and parking areas. Position cash registers near the front of the store where they're easily visible from the outside. And that might seem counterintuitive to some people because it's a shorter distance for somebody to get to that cash register, but if there's more eyes that could see it, the less likely they're going to commit a crime. And if you think of it, if your checkout or your cash is near the front of the store, first of all, that's where a lot of times as an employee you're going to spend your time. Everybody has to walk by you to get in the store, and they have to walk by you to get out of the store. So if they're going by with product in their hand and they could see that you're going to be standing there looking at them, they're less likely to commit that crime. And install convex mirrors to eliminate blind spots. And that sounds old school in today's technology with cameras. But if there's a convex mirror up on a corner and movement catches my eye, I'm more likely to look at it than I am to stand at my cash register and stare at a bank of monitors. You just don't have time for that. Next is territorial reinforcement. So use signage to clearly indicate public versus private areas, such as employees only. Some people will sneak into an employee area, and if they're challenged, will say, oh, I didn't realize that this wasn't public. If the sign is there, then it's clear that it's not a public area. Storefront signage should be clean, professional, and well-maintained. It shows that you care about your business and that you're likely to look after it. Access control. Limit entry-exit points to maintain control over who enters and exits. I'm not suggesting you lock your front door, but if you have a number of entry points, in particular a delivery door, that's not monitored, ensure that it's kept locked. If you can install access controls to stock rooms and employee-only areas, it makes it much more difficult for a would-be thief to sneak in a back room when you're tied up with another customer. Use chimes or bells to alert staff when someone enters. Again, it sounds kind of old school when you think of the corner store where the bell used to ring when the door hit it, but it's very effective, particularly in today's age when there's usually very few employees working in a store or in a business. You're easily tied up stocking a shelf or helping another customer. If that door rings, you know that somebody else is coming in, and you can at least turn your head and make eye contact so that they know that you know that they're there. And as I alluded to earlier, lock any secondary entrances and exits unless there's someone there supervising them. Maintenance, keep the premises clean and well-maintained and show it's actively managed. Quickly repair broken windows, lights, or signs. Neglect can attract criminal behavior. And there is a theory from many years in policing of broken windows theory that if you left something go unattended, it sends a signal to people that you don't really care about it, and it's more likely to, in the broken windows case, get more broken windows. People say they don't care, so they do it. you don't fix that part of the store, they're going to think, well, they don't really care about their store or their business, so we can go that one step further and do something else. And this is not the case in a lot of places, especially in a downtown area, but if you do have any landscaping, keep it trimmed to reduce hiding places and enhance your visibility.
Don, is this the time to talk about pride of place as well? Nancy's point yesterday?
Yes, it's a very good point. So pride in place, like in all of these things, it sounds like, well, this is just property management in some cases, but in reality, the more you show that you care about your place, the less likely that someone's going to go in there and commit a crime in it. And you think of, I don't know, if like movies from many years ago in New York City, and you see the store owner out front sweeping their sidewalk or washing it off, and that sends a strong message to people that you care about your business. And not just the would-be thieves, but as a potential customer, when I see somebody taking pride in their property, I want to frequent that place. And so it has a double effect for sure. Thank you. So target hardening, use anti-theft devices, such as locked display cases or electronic tags, in particular for high-value items. Secure high-value items away from front doors and windows. I have heard cases of right here in St. John where people would break a window because they see high-end jewelry or purses displayed in the window. It's attractive to want to show your wares and say, hey, come on in, but unfortunately it also attracts people that don't want to actually buy those goods. So you secure high values away from doors and windows. Install surveillance cameras in visible locations as a deterrent. And it's very important to have them visible surveillance cameras. There was a tendency at one point to have a hidden pinhole camera so people don't know they're being recorded, but a visible camera has a double effect, because if they can see the camera, they realize that the camera can probably see them, and then they're less likely to want to commit a crime in that area. Activity support. Encourage foot traffic by partnering with neighborhood businesses and hosting events. This is that whole eyes on the street thing, and this is why it's so important to have, one of the reasons why it's so important to have that clear window so that people can see into your business. The more legitimate activity you have in your area, the less likely that you're going to have illegitimate activity in that area. So get to know your fellow, and I'm sure I've walked around St. John the last couple of days and thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's a great community, and I think most people do get to know their neighboring businesses, but the more legitimate business you have in a community, the less likely you're going to have illegitimate business there. Within your storefront, you should position yourself strategically so that you can monitor customers' movement. Greet every customer. It sends a strong signal of attentiveness. And I say it, and I think Theresa says it in a couple of her slides as well, is about make eye contact. Because once you see them and they know you've seen them, again, they're going to be less likely to want to commit some type of a crime. So greet every customer. Strong signal of attentiveness. That does two things. It makes the would-be criminal less likely to want to commit a crime, and it makes your legitimate customers feel like they're cared for. So CPTED in a nutshell, everything we talked about with CPTED, or crime prevention through environmental design, was created to create more risk for a perpetrator to be seen, challenged, or caught, cause the perpetrator to make greater effort, lessen rewards for the perpetrator. All of this should make it less likely that your business will be a victim of crime. So when you think about it, more risk of being seen. So again, that was the clear windows, good lighting, a doorbell, greet the customers when they come in, surveillance cameras, greater effort to steal something as the anti-theft devices, locked cabinets, high-value items behind the counter, lessen the reward for perpetrators, make those high-value items harder to get at, and keep them away from the front door.
Hi, everyone. I'm Theresa. And as Pierre so kindly introduced, I have a background in communications, but I also spent 14 years with Halifax Regional Police, where I was responsible for crime prevention education and mostly supporting Don as he was our public safety officer. So supporting his crime prevention initiatives and public safety initiatives. So I'm going to take you through the crime prevention portion of this, but I'm going to invite Don to jump in at any time because he's the one who has the expertise as a police officer. And certainly Constable Bowes, too, you can jump in if you so wish. So first of all, we want you to be able to recognize shoplifters. Be aware of common shoplifting behaviors, such as loitering, carrying large bags, and frequenting blind spots in your locations. And perhaps you've seen some of this or all of it. You should also have a customer service strategy. Greet customers, as we talked about already, make eye contact with them, offer assistance, and all of that can help deter shoplifting. You should have security measures in place, have security cameras, mirrors, and anti-theft tags that are all in place and functioning. I think Don mentioned this yesterday. Sometimes people will put up a camera and it doesn't even have to be functioning to really, it can be a deterrent, but we do encourage you to have functioning cameras. They can help in a court process, as an example.
You guys mentioned where to put the cameras even as well, not to interrupt, sorry.
No. Don, do you want to talk about where to place the cameras?
I think that's one good time. We go to a lot of calls, and they'll have security surveillance, but it's not in a way that we can actually do any kind of facial recognition. So it'll be like the way that it's up, the way that it's angled, so you might just get the side of someone, like it's just not in a strategic location, so it's almost, in a way, not to try to be useless, but yeah, because we have to be able to say 100% who a person is.
So we're at eye level, would that be the best place to put a camera?
I know some actually have them and you can step into, like I know some people even have them right at the doorway when they come in or come out. I know that, like Superstore, for example, they have awesome camera surveillance. So if they come in, you can see them, and then when they come out, so we actually have 2 chances of getting their facial recognition, or their face ID, I should say, because a lot of the times too is they have sometimes they'll have their hood down going in, right, and then they're coming out and they have their hood up, or they'll have the face mask on, things like that. Because unfortunately with our job, as you can easily say as well, unless you're 100% sure who the person is, you can't charge. So, and then it helps us to help you guys as well. Sorry to cut in.
No, please, anytime.
It's a very good point. If you only have one camera, everybody has to come in the front door. So to your point, if it's pointed in a direction that captures their face, you're more likely to be able to identify that person. And further to your point, they want to hide their faces going in because they're anticipating a camera that may not be anticipating the ones capturing them on the way out. So if you only had 2 cameras, those would be the spots.
Yeah, we find it's been swappy lately. I find the ones that I have, it's the opposite actually. They go in, not covered, come in.
Oh, right, okay, because they've committed their crime, yeah. Either way, you're gonna capture, you have a better chance of capturing it.
Yeah.
And if you are installing cameras, one of the problems many years ago was people would buy a camera and it was such poor quality.
Grainy.
You'd capture the person, but it could be me or it could be Theresa, you wouldn't know. And you can't make an identification off of that. But with technology now, you can get some pretty high quality equipment for much less cost. So make sure if you are purchasing anything like this, that it's something that is clear, and place it somewhere and then test it as, so walk through, look, and then look at it and say, could I identify myself here? If I can't, then change the angle of it so that you get the best value for your dollar.
Just a question, and as much to you, Don, as to you, Michelle. At the Nest, we actually have it in the lobby, so we capture people, like it looks at our exit door, right? So we actually, police have said, oh, these are great pictures. So we've had the compliment saying, oh, this is a good angle. I think, and I'm just kind of wondering, I see cameras as A, a deterrent, and B, a method to identify individuals, right? I don't view our cameras as trying to catch them steal or do the unlawful act. Now, unless maybe it's a mischief and you have cameras outside. Kind of like, for me, it's a way to identify people, as opposed to, you know, oh, I caught them on camera, you know, slipping something or whatnot. Am I wrong in this thinking, or how do you view it? 'Cause
No, my experience for that, you'd have to have a camera at every angle in your entire business.
Yeah.
And even then, you may not.
Right,
It's for identification and deterrent.
right.
And if the theft does happen, your narrative, so you would be saying, like, female went in a police uniform. And
Right.
she took a pair of leggings, that's who left. So then when I'm doing identification, oh, okay, so it's this one right here that was in this uniform. This is, okay, I can identify her as Michelle Bowes.
Right.
With your statement, my identification, we're good to go.
Right, so, yeah, okay, thank you.
Good question.
And I could be wrong, but from my experience, it would be in a community like this in particular, if they go into your business and steal something, they're not gonna just go home, they're probably gonna go into one or two or three more businesses and steal something. So if you all had the picture of the same person, and somebody, you can find a pattern, and you can see at least one of those, you might be able to identify who that person is. So I think the more cameras, the better.
Thank you all. Helps to have backup, literally. With respect to cash handling, you should have protocols, have them in place first of all, and then follow them. And that's for making deposits and handling cash. And you should also use a safe. And all of that is considered cash handling processes to help in theft and robbery prevention. We found this was of particular interest yesterday, and we hope that it will be very helpful to all of you. It's all about personal safety. And we like to emphasize that. It really is about your personal safety. It's not about your property, and we're going to say that a couple of times. You should have emergency procedures and be familiar with those protocols, whether it's for fire, for a medical emergency, and or an evacuation, and you should also know your muster points. For robbery response, if confronted, you should comply with their demands, avoid sudden movements, and I'll say it again, personal safety is more important than property. For workplace violence prevention, you should report thefts and or harassment to police and to your management immediately. And then there's dealing with aggressive customers, and we'll focus on this a little bit as well. You should stay calm, use de-escalation techniques, and know when to call security and or the police. And so Dawn and I were preparing this, and I said, okay, well, first of all, it's very difficult for me to stay calm. We are totally different personalities. But so I was like, how do I stay calm in a situation like that? And what kind of de-escalation techniques should I use? And we had, I think, lots of bullet points, lots of talking points that we were going to speak to. And I said, I think this has to be slides so that you have strong takeaways. Rather than just hear us speak about it, you can observe them on the screen. So first of all, as I said, you should stay calm and composed. That can be difficult to do if you're dealing with somebody acting aggressively, but we really strongly encourage you to keep your tone steady and neutral. You should actively listen to them. And that means you should let them vent without interrupting to them. And you should show empathy by nodding. And if you can interrupt them or you can get a word in kindly, you can say, I understand you're upset. All of this may be easier said than done, but we really want you to arm you with information that you can use when dealing with aggressive people. And to Pierre's point, they may be your customer, but perhaps they're your non-client, or we call them would-be perpetrators or would-be criminals. Acknowledge the issue, validate their feelings. I can see that you're frustrated, and I can see why you're frustrated. And you should reiterate their concern to show that you're listening. Did you want to add something? I sense he wants to add something.
When I want to jump out of my chair?
Yes.
No, just on the keep your tone steady and neutral aspect. It may be very difficult in a stressful situation, but a lot of people that are elevating their level of being upset would really like you to be upset too. They want somebody to argue with. And if they're here and you meet their level, then they're likely to escalate and get worse. Whereas if you're here and you keep calm and steady, there's a better chance that you can bring them down to your level and have a sense of calm in them as well. It may not happen with everyone, but guaranteed that if they're here and you're there, they're going to go higher because that's what they want.
Thank
Sorry.
you. You should set clear boundaries. If they start yelling or swearing, you can say something like, I want to help you, but I need you to speak to me respectfully. And you should offer solutions as well. Stay solution focused. Here's what I can do for you. In a way, you're negotiating with them. And offer options if possible. It gives the customer or would-be perpetrator or non-client a sense of control. And one more slide on handling aggressive behavior. You also need to know when to escalate the situation. If they don't calm down, you should call a supervisor or manager, and you should have a clear protocol in place for calling security or the authorities like the police. This is especially important. You should also document the incident. Write down what happened, names if you know them, date, time, what was said, and what was done. And that can be very useful for future reference or if formal action is required, like reporting to the police so filing a police report and potentially court proceedings.
On that.
Yes.
Just a note, because we've had a few incidents at our store, obviously. And I've interacted with our non-clients and I've, detained them and whatnot. But one of the things about writing down the incident and the notes, and I'm a lawyer and I used to be a prosecutor, and so you look at, I've prosecuted these types of cases. One of the things I've gotten our staff to do is right away, like right once after the police have shown up or whatnot, I do tell them, like, write down what happened, like right now. But personally, I don't like to do that. What I actually do is I take out my phone and I send myself a text or a note, and I do it voice, and I just say, you know what, today's May 6th, just had an incident at the studio, and I actually just dictate. I tell the story to my phone of what just happened, right? Because I know we're all busy, and we're like, oh, I'll make some notes later. I found that the best tool for me is just to dictate to my phone what just happened. A female just came in, and we saw her lift, I stopped her, blah, blah, blah. Just, the whole story, because you're gonna go tell the story to your spouse at home, or you're gonna tell it to your coworker, right? You're gonna actually tell the story. But it's a way to tell your story, and I found it actually I debriefed myself almost, right? By just telling the story of what, I just had an interaction with this guy, and he was trying to, and he was yelling at me, or whatever it is. And it's really useful, and Michelle, you can comment on that, but it's really useful because it's in the moment. It's really fresh in your mind, right? And I know, I just won't be one to just sit at my desk or write out a statement. But then if I just dictate it, it's all right there. So it's just a tip. But then when the police say, oh, I need a statement from you, you just hit send off an email, and it's kind of there verbatim, right? So it doesn't have to be a big thing, but I think in the moment captures it more than, oh yeah, right, when the police eventually say, I need a statement, it's 5 days later. 5 days later, your memory is, it's clouded with some, other stories, right? So, anyway, just a tip. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
To extend on that, can you record the incident?
If you can do it safely, yeah,
I can record you right now. Yeah, I can record anything in public.
yeah, it's.
The main thing is your safety.
Yeah, it's legal to do it, but if you're going to take the phone out and stick it in their face and record them, you might escalate them.
No, but if they start escalating really badly.
But if you could do it,
filming.
or even,
This guy's now smashing the window, and I got him on film.
yeah, oh yes, yeah. Or if there's another person in the store and you're dealing with the perpetrator,
Yeah.
and they can be filming the interaction, then that would be okay too. Yeah, you have to worry about safety first.
So it might be useful for us,
Yeah.
that's all.
And with what you were saying, Pierre, in regards to statements, the more detailed, the better. And you can even put how you feel in it too, right? Like that doesn't hurt, because especially when it comes to, and I know it's not all about arresting, it's not all about, but when it does come to sentencing, and a judge is a person, right? So and the Crown is a person. So sometimes, like a Crown, as you can, they read 20,000 files. right? So to them, a theft is just a theft, right? But the interaction was personal, it was very scary, this is what happened, so, but how I always say it is I say, pretend that you're telling a 2-year-old the story, and tell it as detailed as possible, because the more detail, the better, with what happened, how it happened, what they were wearing, how it made you feel, how it made staff feel. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great point, and we did talk about that a bit yesterday, about how it humanizes it.
Yes.
And you could say how it made me feel, or and that's more impactful, to your point, to a judge or a prosecutor reading this. It's not just a broken window or an interaction that somebody had. This is somebody's life, and it really impacted them. It's a very good point.
And very good point. Whatever works for you, getting those details down. If it's a voice recording, if it's a quick note on your phone, if it's an email to yourself, whatever works for you to get those details down right then and there. As soon as things have de-escalated and you're safe, it's really important to document all of that. Because to Pierre's point, if you wait a while, more things happen, you start telling people, you can't remember who you've told what, get it right down there in the moment.
And it doesn't have to go through the roof before you call us either, right? Like some people always think, well, I don't want to bother police. Like it hasn't gotten that bad. No. Like if you feel like you're being it's an intimidating situation and you're 100% call us. I'd rather go, de-escalate it, have things go their way. We go to people domestics, right? Where two people are just arguing.
Yes.
I argue with my husband, right? I'm surprised no one's been called to my house. Right? So.
Yes.
But the same thing happens in a situation, so you deserve to be treated with respect, and if you find that something's happening, you don't feel safe, do not ever hesitate, ever.
We talked about this yesterday because someone said, should I even call if this happens? And they considered it low level. And we said, don't suffer in silence. Because if everybody's out there suffering in silence because you think it's a minor offense, then the police don't have the reality. They don't have the true picture also of what's happening in the community. And you deserve to feel safe in your workplace. So if you're intimidated, if you're threatened, if it's been a very scary incident, call the police. They're there for you. So we really encourage you, don't suffer in silence. Make those calls. Yes?
Would you call 911 or?
There's a 648-3333, so that's a non-emergency line you can call. I don't know, it's really hard to know that.
Yeah.
So
What's
it's,
the number again?
so it's 648-3333,
648 3333.
and then obviously though, if it was a situation called, you need to call 911.
Thank you so much. Very helpful. So happy you're here.
You're going to get your moment too.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. It's a very good point, and I think it's important in all of your businesses, whether you're an owner or a frontline staff, to know those emergency numbers and non-emergency numbers before something happens, because in the moment, you're less likely to be composed enough to try to find that information. So you want to have it, and then it's easier to make that call. And you're less likely to think, oh, I can't call 911 because, and then you're on the website looking for the right number, and by then, who knows what has transpired. So it's a very good piece of advice.
Thank you all. So helpful to have you here. Really appreciate it. And keep the questions coming. Okay, this one I'm going to turn over to Dawn, or Michelle could probably jump in as well, but this is your legal rights. And it's straight from the criminal code, so Dawn will read it and then decipher it for all of us.
So if you're in need of a nap, now is a good time to take that in. So I'll just turn and read it. It is wording right from the Canadian Criminal Code. So the owner or a person in lawful possession of property, or a person authorized by the owner or a person in lawful possession of the property. So that's store owners, staff, in this case, anybody that's charged with responsibility for your business, may arrest a person without a warrant if they find them committing a criminal offense or on or in relation to that property, if they make the arrest at the time, or they make the arrest within a reasonable time after the offense is committed, and they believe on reasonable grounds that it's not feasible for the police to be there to make that arrest. So in other words, if there's not time for the police to be there and you're able to make the arrest, you're permitted to according to the criminal code. One caveat is anyone other than a peace officer who arrests a person without a warrant, which is what the description would be here, must forthwith deliver that person to a police officer. So your rights to make that arrest is to hold them long enough to get them to the police. Not to say throw them in your car and drive them, but you would call the police and wait for them. And if you act on reasonable grounds, you're justified in doing what is required and authorized to do and using as much force as necessary to make that arrest. So you can physically hold someone who has committed a crime against your property. I see Michelle's face is twitching. Don't do it.
I get so worried about that.
So do I.
Yeah,
That's for the next slide.
yeah, good job.
So that said, a theft doesn't actually occur until the person leaves the store with the product or conceals it with intent. There has to be intent. So that can be a number of factors. You could see them like ripping tags off or stuffing them in a big bag or something. They're not doing that so that they can continue shopping and buy more stuff and then take it to your cash registers and pay for it. So there has to be that intent. But your personal safety should always be the number one concern. I'll say it again, and I see a head nodding over here. I don't even have to look. Your personal safety has to be the number one concern. I always tell people it's stuff. I owned a small business many years ago, and I have children who worked in small business many years ago, and even people in homes. I said, it's stuff. You can replace stuff, but you can't replace your own safety. So your personal safety has to be first. So you should be a good witness instead of putting yourself at risk, and Theresa's going to talk about how to be a good witness in a minute. Also, if the situation leads to a charge or court proceedings, be willing to take all the steps all the way through, and if you're given the opportunity to write a victim impact statement, you should write that statement. It does two things. Michelle alluded to it earlier, that it helps to humanize it in the eyes of the judge. They take that into consideration in sentencing. It puts it into perspective that they're not just stealing or damaging some corporation. They've affected the life of people in their community. So it does that, and it also, some of these events can be very traumatizing for you. It's almost a little bit of a healing process. If you're able to tell everything about how it made you feel, it might help you heal in the process as well.
And just to help go further with that, years ago, store owners were never contacted for victim impact statements. It was just, I don't know, I'm not sure why. Now, every person involved in any type of crime is contacted, so you'll be contacted through provincial court and with victim services unit, and they would then actually help you doing that. So you would always be contacted. I hope you've been contacted.
Yes, we have. On that, so two comments on this slide, if I can. One, the victim impact statement, it's really important, right? So, like I said, we sell Lululemon, but we're not corporate Lululemon sold on the stock market, right? We're not a Fortune 500 company. We're a small business that we buy the stuff from Lululemon, we're allowed to sell it, right? But when it's gone from our store, they take $300 worth of it. It's not Lululemon's loss, it's our Vanessa Yoga, small business loss, right? So we've written victim impact statements, and I make that clear, right? Like, cause, you know, what's gonna happen in court, you know, because there's a lot of cases, there's a lot of things, and look, let's be honest, I was a lawyer for a long time. Petty thefts, vandalisms, mischief, they're the low-level things that the court sees, right? The court deals with arsons and robberies and sexual assaults and domestic violence, all that things, unfortunately. But a victim impact statement makes it more impactful for the prosecutor to say this small business was vandalized for the third time, right? Windows cost a lot of money. For those of us who have to pay for windows, they're really expensive, much more than Lululemon leggings, right? So it humanizes, and it really, and I'll tell you, having been a prosecutor, you read them, and the judge will read them as well. Right? These are actually read. I can promise you that. So take the time to fill them out, and as Michelle said, it's a chance for you to tell your story, maybe help get past that, right? Because it's a process. The other thing I want to talk about is just take a moment and say about, you know, arresting people, right? I have held people at the store, right? Until the cops showed up, right? I always tell staff, do not do what I just did, right? But I've also caught someone and I let her go, right? Because she was fighting, right? The people that I stopped were actually kind of pretty calm. And they were like, yeah, okay, kind of, and I just kept them in there in our lobby, whatever, until the cops showed up. But this one woman, last time, I saw her, the alarms went off, held her, actually wrestled with her a little bit until we got the goods. And as soon as we got the goods, I let her go. And she was about 110 pounds, but she was fighting. She was wiggly, and I was like, damn, you've got strong,
Eyes tight.
Yeah, and she was probably on something as well. And it wasn't going to be worth, I'm not gonna get on the ground with her, right? And so I've done both, and of course I tell my staff, do not do that. And the police typically tell me, be careful there. And I agree, you have to assess it. Like, we really do. And one time I held a woman in the lobby, but we could see some guy outside pacing back and forth. And I told my wife, if that guy comes in those doors, I'm letting her go.
Can I tell you what something could happen though with you with that? She
Yeah.
had a dirty needle in her pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, she actually threatened to stab me with a needle.
But not even threatening that, she could have had that in her pocket.
100%.
Right, that's why it's, like, we'll even get calls of like, yeah, okay, we're chasing after them, they're going down this way, and no one's available. So I literally will call them, stop chasing!
Right.
Because no one's available even right now, right? So, and I get that,
Yep.
I just so don't want anyone to get hurt. People have been killed trying to stop thefts, like, it's so not worth it.
And I agree with you, and
We just, we all have to do a better job in order to prevent this from happening, and your guys' safety is so number one.
yeah, and I guess, just assess it properly, right? Like, really, and I mean, I'm a business owner, and it's more than loss of goods for us.
Yes.
Right? It also just angers me, like my wife goes, wow, I saw a different side of you I've never seen before, right? Because it does anger you as a
Well, it's
business owner.
personal.
It's very personal,
Yes, it's very
right?
personal.
But do file the victim impact statements. They really are useful tools for the judge, the police, the courts, so.
Can I even add, is this?
Yes,
too long?
please.
I was just gonna say, and with respect to, I know some people are like, oh, I don't wanna bother charging, I mean, that's up to you. But I know you were mentioning about like that it's a low, on the totem pole for crime, but I've worked in almost every unit in the police force the last 21 years. And so I was able even to see in the court section, for example. And a lot of people, if they've committed a bunch of thefts, they'll get more time than someone who does a domestic, right? And there's new case law now that people don't get held really anymore. Like if people committed 2 or 3 crimes, they'd be held, right? And then, but now it's like sometimes we'll have literally like the other day that someone had 40 charges. Not exaggerating. That's why we were in court so long. So don't ever hesitate if you feel that you want to go that route as well. That way it does, because unfortunately they're, committing a crime, so they do have to, there is punishment for that too, right? So just don't hesitate thinking they're not gonna get anything. I guess you don't.
No, they're career criminals, these guys, 40.
Yeah, it's worth the effort. And thank you to Pierre for sharing his story. So he told us the story about how he held someone. So our message to you is do what we say, not as Pierre did. It takes courage to do what he did, but it could go very sideways. So we thank you for backing that up. And I get that it's personal and it angers you, but it's stuff. So really consider your personal safety. Focus on being a good witness instead. Take note of as much detail as you can about the perpetrator, including their height, weight, age, that's probably going to be approximate, hair color, clothing, piercings and or tattoos or any other distinguishing characteristics, and the direction of travel when they leave.
That's awesome for us.
And to both Pierre and Michelle's point, Michelle, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Make sure that you write down how you felt as well. And then, as we already said, when you go through the court process and you get that opportunity on the victim impact statement, do take it. To Don's point, it is healing. It helps you to get through the process, and it really does make a difference at sentencing. I myself was a victim of fraud. Someone wrote my name down for $600,000, and It was actually organizational, so it wasn't called a victim impact statement. It was more corporate, because I wasn't the actual victim, the business was. It made a huge difference at sentencing that we had taken the time to write that victim impact statement out. So do that. Yes?
Yeah, if someone's buying this Lululemon stuff that's getting stolen, so the victim impact statement might have an impact on other cases in the future when they find out where this stuff is going.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know how far-reaching it could be. So it's really important to take the time to do that, as we've said several times now. So best practices and potential solutions, just to reinforce a few things we've already said. Follow your store policies. Adhere to company procedures for security, handling cash, and dealing with incidents. And we've already said this, but report suspicious activity. It may seem low level, but if something's suspicious, it could escalate. So report that to supervisors and security if you have any concerns, and do report those crimes. You may feel like it's low level, that it had low impact, but you want to call the police to get the support that you need, and that's if a crime has occurred or if you felt threatened. And as I mentioned earlier, it really can help with crime stats too, to help understand what the issue is and where the police need to designate those resources. You need to work as a team, so communicate with coworkers to monitor the store effectively, and make sure you communicate about what's happening so that you're all on the same page. And this probably is my favorite slide because of my public relations background. And public relations has the word public, but then relations. It's all about relationships, and that's what we say in our business, is we really try to put the relations into public relations, because you have to have strong relationships. So we encourage you to expand your communication beyond your business, beyond your coworkers. Develop relationships with your business association. I know you already have that, many of you, with Nancy, as well as other businesses, owners, and their employees. And we could see in the last couple of days that you already have that. We see people come in the room, they sit together, they're chatting. So we know that you know each other, but do expand that network. And you should use communication vehicles to keep each other informed. So we were saying yesterday you could use Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. We live in Roatan, Honduras half the year, and we have a WhatsApp group for our community, and we report suspicious activity within that WhatsApp group. And I know Nancy has some key information about WhatsApp. You can't just take a screen cap of what's in WhatsApp and then put it on Facebook, which is actually a good thing, because you really want this to be a confidential group. I mean, it's going to be a big group of all your businesses and all your employees, but maybe Facebook might not be the best way. But you don't want someone to inadvertently put something on Facebook and then clip it and put it on their public Facebook page. So I think there's going to be some weighing of those options to see what the best tool is for you. But we do encourage you to have that communication vehicle, whatever it may be, to really keep each other looped in. If there's been a theft or an incident in your store or in your location, whatever your business may be, you could say, we just had this incident. That person looked like this. Keep an eye out. We've called the police. We want everybody to be on high alert for this individual. That can really keep you looped in. It creates a sense of, it's like a safety net that you're all in this together. We really encourage you to think about your communication vehicles and how you can be looking out for one another. We also, he's ready to jump in. I must have covered it.
You covered it. You did. But I'm going to jump in anyway.
Go for it.
To that point, if you're on WhatsApp or Slack or Messenger or whatever tool you use, if somebody was just in your business and committed a crime, there's a good chance they're going to go in somebody else's business. Or if they didn't get away with whatever it is they tried in your business, there's a very good chance they're going to go in some other business. And they might already be in one of those other businesses if you send that message. So that's the best way to keep each other alerted and make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on. And then it could be 2 or 3 businesses down or around the corner. That everybody, more eyes, so it's more legitimate eyes. You could see where they're going, and you're able to then report it if you have to police.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it legal to send images via WhatsApp Messenger, things like that?
I think you could. That's what we wanted to caution against, is I think as long as you have this internal grouping, you should do that, but we don't want people to then take those images and put them out on a public Facebook page. But yes, if you have this internal grouping and you can share photos of that person, absolutely. Whatever you can do to help empower one another and create that safety network, we encourage. We also encourage you to forge relationships with local government, and we do have the mayor here today. Thank you so much for being here. That sends a strong signal that you're in this together, and also with the police. And thank you to Constable Bowes for being here as well. It's so helpful to have you here. Sorry you couldn't be here yesterday. Yeah, no, we totally understand. Court comes first. Everybody is in this together, and we want you to make sure you don't feel like you're on your own. So you have your business association, you have this network of businesses and employees together, you have the police, you have the government. There might be some toing and froing in those cases as you work collectively to address the issues, but you really need to create collective solutions. And Dawn mentioned this earlier, this is not just an Uptown St. John issue. This is happening in other communities as well, and it's not just up to the police, it's not just up to the businesses, it's not just up to the government. This takes a whole of society approach, and Dawn was a public safety officer for Halifax trying to address these issues back in, I don't remember what year it was, back in 2010, so almost 15 years ago. So it's important that you bring in all levels of government, not just your municipal government, because when you look at the issues that are creating what you're living today, it's not just a municipal problem, it's not just a police problem, it's not just a city problem. So really consider how you can grow your group that you have, how you can bring in other levels of government to help address the root causes of crime. Not an easy fix. We also encourage you to seize opportunities to strategically communicate, and we've tossed out a few already, but one, and I hope I'm not taking Michelle by surprise, but this is an amazing opportunity to partner with the police. So they are creating their strategic plan. It's going to be a 5-year plan, and they're looking for community feedback. We've heard over the last couple of days what you're going through, and I know that there was that town hall that you had, and there might be another one in future, but this is your opportunity to be heard and make sure the police know what your reality is. So these are 5 sessions. They start next week, and they run through till June 2nd, and we encourage you to go. It's really important for the police to know what's happening, the realities, so that they can address the crimes, and they can also deploy resources effectively now and into the future. So really important to have your say. So we worked at Halifax Regional Police for almost 50 years combined, and I was in charge of running meetings like this, and if people came and you could see they were really antsy, I was like, oh no, here we go, this is going to be really bad. But the only way you can improve something is to be heard, like to have your citizens be heard, to really know their truth. So we encourage you to get out there and take this opportunity. And we said this yesterday as well. It may be in future that Michelle and her partners could have a group with you. I don't want to set you up for success or failure, but it's really important to come together as community and for the police to hear what you're dealing with. I think Michelle has a pretty good sense of it from what I'm hearing today, but it might be that there's an opportunity for a larger focus group instead of just this room, because we're here for solutions today, not to tell your war stories, but you might want to have that opportunity in the future. But this is an opportunity to do that. So we do encourage you to take that opportunity and show up and have your voice heard. And without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Michelle to talk about the new unit.
You guys are amazing. That was really, really good. So I get extremely nervous talking to groups, so I apologize. I actually am really happy. I'm really sorry I wasn't here yesterday. Thank you, Mayor, for this unit as well.
We'll call it the
QRT.
The QRT. So
Yes, just so much easier. Yes.
Is that quick response team?
Well, it's quick reaction team or quick response team. We never know what we're, but yes, but QRT.
But they're there for you.
quick's the word we're looking at.
Yes. So one nice thing is, so I've been for myself. I've been on for 21 years. I've done everything from patrol to detective work to some plain clothes thing when the prostitution was quite a large situation. As well, court unit. I did some identification work. Just anything I had a chance to do, I jumped in. But my passion has always been patrol. Everyone says, well, why don't you become a sergeant? I don't want to become a sergeant because then I'm going to lose touch with people on the street. And when I say I love my job, I've already worked 25 overtime shifts this year. And I just love it so much, I literally feel like Christmas before I come to work. And the reason being is because I'm humbled when I get to meet people, because I'm meeting them in a sensitive situation. You might be telling me something you never told your best friend. And I'm humble to all that. You're inviting me in your home when something's happening that, you know what I mean, you may be embarrassed about, or maybe something that's sensitive. So the reason why I'm saying that is when I say I've been on for over 20 years, back in the day, I knew every single person that was unhoused, right? I knew them by name. I would give them pizzas, and we had the big pizza corners and all this stuff in the night. I would chat with them. We knew everyone. Now it's completely different. I couldn't even begin to tell you who's all unhoused. We get different people here daily into the city who we've never met before. We're getting to know them. As you know, the drug situation is extremely large, and different organizations have had to close different centers down, so mental health is a big struggle. And a lot of people live on the street now like that. When I speak to people on the street, I always say everyone has a story. I'm not judgmental. I don't judge anyone's situation. And even someone can be as high as can be, meaning like agitated.
I'm just gonna point
Oh,
this in your
sorry.
direction. Don't
Oh,
need to
sorry.
stand behind the podium. I'm just gonna point it for,
Thank you. And so you're actually able, if you just speak to them as a common human being, I can't tell you how many times I've had someone say, thank you for just treating me with respect and like I'm an equal. And so we've been reactive so long. So back in the day, I can remember I would park the car out east with one of my partners. We'd park one end of Rossley Avenue, one car, the other end of Rossley Avenue, and we'd walk and we'd check doors, businesses. We'd check all this. We'd walk neighborhoods. I used to do the beat patrol on the bike. Did that. But we were proactive. We would catch things before they happen, or we would prevent crime. For many years now, we've unfortunately had to be reactive, just due to call volume and numbers, and that's nothing, and that's the same with nursing, teachers, everyone's in that place, businesses, everyone is. So when this opportunity came up, I guess where I'm getting at, I could talk forever about policing, she'll probably have to cut me off, but when this opportunity came up, we literally fought for these positions. So, and I went home to my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, there's rumors about this QRT thing. And he's like, okay, yeah, he's a retired Mountie, and he's like, okay, babe, what is it gonna be? I'm like, I think we're gonna be walking the beat, and then dealing with the public, dealing with businesses. I said, being proactive. I was like, can you imagine? I was like, oh my gosh. So we all applied, and we all got it. So the awesome thing about this is we're all wanting to do this position, and we're all wanting to do it well. We want to make it so that there is some type of a difference that we make, because we know we can't do it all alone. It's a family situation. So, but we need to also want to hear from you. So sometimes you might not see us, but we've already done some things. So, like this morning, it's only me in here today, but I've already moved people along from businesses that otherwise you probably would have come to work and seen things. There's businesses, like for example, the Cathedral Church. I now know they don't want people sitting on their steps. I moved them along. I also you talk to the unhoused, you try to figure out, how to assist with them too, try to get them resources so that they don't end up going into the businesses, because when they do that, they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it to either, get their next fix, as people would say, like to get their next drug situation, or they literally don't have any money for things. It's not necessarily ones on drugs that steal, right? People steal and they work, right? It's an economic situation as well. So we have 4 members. We have Guy Lalonde. He actually came from Halifax military police. And we have Ryan Wilson. And then we have Phil Marr, and he came from the constabulary in Newfoundland. And then myself, and then Jeremy Edwards is the sergeant. So we all come up with different ideas. We were kind of thrown into it. So we've come up with our own way of trying to handle it. Hopefully, we're starting to tackle it and feel the difference. Our patrol members that work uptown as well are saying that they feel it as well, which is good. A lot of the time we're there before it happens. Like, we've been walking the beat a lot, mental health situation happens, we're able to deal with it before anyone has to call it in. We're able to just deal with the situation before hopefully it becomes a bigger situation. Does anyone have any questions, I guess? Yeah.
I'm not an Uptown business, I'm
Yeah.
just on Rossley Avenue. Is QRT specifically for Uptown?
So our area is the Uptown core. Yeah, so Waterloo, King, but we do venture out as well, right? Like, obviously. Like, this morning we had a call of a guy possibly with a firearm. So it went out towards Thorn Ave, so obviously I'm gonna go out to that area. I'm not gonna lie, I like calls like that, I know. I'm quite an adrenaline junkie. But yeah, so we will venture out wherever it's needed. We're able to jump on big calls as well. Obviously, being a member, like a city patrol officer, if a very violent situation comes up, then I'm going to go if no one's available. That's just common sense, because I want to make sure everyone else's safety is paramount. But yeah, but that's basically where we are.
So how can business owners better help the QR team to do your job? What can we do to help you?
So knowledge is letting us know what's happening with you guys is number one. So we have been stopping into businesses as we're walking around as well, just to say, how's it going now? Because things can change from 1 week to another. It's just like if someone calls and says what their car had been gone through, I'll call them and they'll, oh, I didn't really want to bother you guys with that. No, it's good to know, because otherwise I don't know that that's where that's moved to. Because crime moves, right? That's how it is. It'll be here at one time, sometimes it'll be here, it moves around. So for us to know where to focus ourselves, that's what we need to know. So yes, if you guys have any type of information, I can even, we just got out business cards, so I'll even drop those off as well. I'll give them to Nancy too, because you can even maybe distribute them in an email, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I'm actually just sitting here thinking about making sure that everybody knows how to fill out the reports online.
Yeah.
That phone number that you just gave out, I think what we'll do is we'll create some magnets and put all that information on
Yeah.
it, and I'll drop them off at the businesses. You can have it right up front. So that piece of clutter, we've done that before, this is one of the new
Yes.
things. So I just think things are at your fingertips.
Yes.
So I just sent myself an email.
No,
for
that's
that.
really good.
So, yeah, I think and anything else that needs to go on it, like your
Yeah,
phone
we
numbers.
can- we can even
But
meet with you to do
the
that.
how-to, like what should I do?
Yeah.
Call this, the police non-emergency, what have you.
Right.
Because somebody yesterday didn't know how to do a report online, right?
So
And-
can you speak to that, the online reporting?
Certainly.
Just walk us through where we go to do online reporting and how it's
Yeah.
received and what's the value? Can you just take a moment to talk about?
Certainly. So online reporting, all you'd have to do is go to our St. John Police Force's webpage, and there's a big icon right at the top that says online reporting. So if you wanted to do your report that way, you would just indicate basically what had taken place, the date that it took place, and as much detail as possible, because we're even getting some of the online reports, it just says person came in and stole chocolate bar or something like that, right? So as much detail as possible, and you can even upload a photo if you have of that person, and then what happens is then that gets assigned to somebody, and then we take it over from there.
I'm just gonna tell you, last week, police came into our store of an online report that we did 3 or 4 weeks ago. And our manager went online and we hadn't, we didn't catch them physically, but we knew they stole, we had pictures. And we were actually, I'm gonna say we were a little surprised, like she said yesterday, like, wow, I was surprised they showed up and they had followed up and they'd made the arrest.
Yeah.
Based on the pictures. And now we were
100%.
asking for follow-up from our store about, do you want restitution, do you want positive
Yep.
impact? And so it works, but only if we do it, right? If we don't file online, doesn't mean it's gonna lead to an arrest on every time, but there is someone receiving the information.
100%,
and
yes.
So,
Yeah.
as business owners, again, if we need to help them, right? So we have to take a positive act here, and again, provide Michelle with the information, knowing where the crime is moving.
100%. Like even when they were saying like the direction of travel if you are a victim of a crime, that is extremely handy. knowing what they're wearing, because that assists us as well, right? That will give us the grounds to, if we know for sure it's who it is, to arrest them or detain them till we get more information. And it just helps us help you guys too, right? Because if something's going to happen, we want to accomplish the end result as well, right? And the big thing is, if you do have someone come into your establishment and you feel intimidated or you are worried, please don't hesitate to call us. I remember, I can tell so many stories about it. The other 2 weeks ago, and because it's scary to people, right? Because and it would be scary to me if I wasn't a police officer, I'll be completely honest, because I wouldn't know where their energy, I'm gonna say, is coming from. For example, I had a gentleman over at Tim Hortons, Lansdowne, screaming, and we had multiple calls because people were scared. And I went over, and I kind of had an idea of who it was as I went there. I got there, said their name, and I said, okay, scream at me. What's today? Right? And he was just tired and hungry. I'm like, okay, well, I can help that. So let's go get you some Tim Hortons. Let's go do whatever and get you where you need to go. Yeah.
How about, like, if you see drug dealing? I was painting a house last summer. I was up on a ladder. I had bird's eye view. I could see this guy running out to the car,
Yeah.
showing his wares and the whole thing. And I thought I should probably call that to somebody.
Yeah, and you definitely, 100% you can call us. We get those calls quite a bit. That's a huge issue in the city. Yep. Yep, 100%. So we do have a street crime unit that actually looks after that as well. So basically what will happen is if we don't catch the person in the act, then we can gather intelligence and then we can go from there and look at getting.
Car on a couple of times, we shut it down probably.
Yes, yeah,
Like, just attention.
100%. And that's why the calls help, because then we don't know to give that attention to that area without the phone call, right? So there's been times that I've even sat outside locations because I've gotten calls about, right? And I just sat there, I'm gonna do my report, I'm just gonna do it right here. I'm gonna annoy someone, I'm gonna do it right here. So,
what's the plan for your QR team? Like, I hear that,
Yeah.
like, are you guys just doing foot patrols? Or are you just doing car patrols?
So-
what are we gonna see this summer?
So we do a little bit of everything. So we do foot patrols, we do traffic enforcement, we now have 2 bikes. So we're doing bikes as well. We actually go to we actually go to schools as well. We've done some of that stuff. We go into the businesses, we attend things like this. So it's a little bit of everything. That's, I think, why I love it so much.
Okay.
But with your guys' input, then we know as well where else we can tackle things. Because obviously, like, the Teen Resource Center is going to need something different than you guys need versus the hub, versus Outflow, versus Market Square. Like, everyone's going to be different, right? So that's why the feedback is really good. So we're trying to help everyone and kind of fit all the holes.
Someone asked yesterday your hours of operation.
So there's, like I said, there's 4 of us. So we technically are 8 days on, 6 to 6, and then 2 days off. So that's what they are right now. We can modify our schedule. So if there was an issue that we were finding, I can change it tomorrow. Like, if there was damage happening uptown and it seemed to be going on in the evenings, well, I'm going to change my hours from midnight or from like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. or something like that. Yeah, we're very flexible. They're really good with us that way.
Does the QR team have a different phone number than the non-emergency line?
Yeah, we do have, I just kind of stole a phone and put it on there, so I'll give that to you as well.
Because I'm just wondering, like,
Yeah.
business owners in Uptown, is it better to call the QR team?
You 100% can. I even set up the voicemail.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I can 100% give that to you and Nancy so that they can have that as well.
That was a question we also had, just wasn't sure.
But obviously if it's something that's happening in the moment, and I say that on my voicemail as well,
Yeah.
because we might not get it for a couple of days or something like that. So if it's something that needs to be addressed fairly quickly, then by all means, call the non-emergency line or 911.
Does anybody have any more questions for Michelle?
So, say there's been a theft in your store.
Yep.
Is it better to file a report online or call?
Whatever you're comfortable doing. So a lot of people find it more convenient to do it online. If the situation's already done and all of that, then you can just take the time. You're not stressed to do it. When you get done, then it gets sent in. It's whatever's, that's why we created it, just to try to make it more convenient for people. So yes, whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a comment and a question. So we actually used to have a bigger issue with theft years ago when we had like a retail storefront. We've since kind of moved more business to business, and we've removed that.
Do you want me asking who you work with?
Sure, it's Fluwelling Press.
Okay, oh,
This way
thanks.
street.
Yeah.
So, kind of going back to your guys' point about the safe store design, we had taken many of these steps. We had bars on the windows at the back of the building on the first floor. But two of the times that we were broken in, once they actually came through a second story window from the back of the building, which it never occurred to me to try and secure second story.
That's quite an effort for them, yes.
And once they actually came through the roof, because there's
Yeah.
roof access in the building. So just, I guess, for people who have buildings uptown, it didn't even occur to me until it happened. So you may want to consider all the weird ways they could possibly get into your building.
And there's always exceptions to every situation, so yes, if someone's determined, they probably can get in. Yeah, if they're 100% determined. Most are trying to do like a quick, right? Quick in and out. But yes, we do have breaks. They've gone through basements. They've gone through the other side and then into the next building over. Oh, we've had they can be very creative, right?
Maybe if Llewellyn Press, that would warrant that much effort, that they'd be running off it.
Do we need to worry?
I wouldn't go over that now, but I don't know.
It was mostly equipment, so computers, monitors. Sometimes they'd steal weird things thinking they might have some value, and it's not something you could resell, but.
And someone would kind of have to know that's there too, right? Because like for me, I wouldn't think to do that. So there's usually someone would have to have some type of knowledge that was even there when that type of thing happens.
And then my question is, so again, back when we were having more issues with crime, whenever we did get the police involved, it seems like within a few days to a few weeks afterwards, we'd end up with a broken window. And we were always under this assumption that kind of as soon as we got the police involved, someone was going to take revenge against us. So we got this, idea in our heads that we shouldn't call the police unless it's very serious because there's going to be consequences. And now we have more issues with nuisances and mischief than we actually do with thefts or vandalism. As an example, I'll have someone stand in the doorway to the business and smoke cigarettes or marijuana, and I'll ask them, hey, no one can get into my business. My office reeks. Could you please move? More often than not, the response is to tell me to go fuck myself. And I wonder, for something like that, is it worth calling the police? And if I do, is there some way to get in contact so that it's not clear to that person that I was actually the one who called the police, that, maybe a police officer just happened to wander by and see them and ask them to move? Or
So whenever we get a call, we don't say who called, typically, right? We don't typically say, but yes, we get move-along calls and every day, multiple times a day. Yes, so if you don't feel comfortable approaching the person, yes, just call us. I have 20-some years on, I've never heard of anyone retaliate because they asked them to move along from an alcove of business.
Yeah.
Right, and then,
Say that it's, there was other reasons why, it's because someone tried to shoplift and we called the cops. And
Yeah.
then again, 2 weeks later, you have a broken window, but I'm just.
it's really rare, I'll be honest, it's,
hesitation, I guess,
yeah.
to call the police just
You
because of
can't-
fear of retaliation.
Yeah, and you can't predict future behavior. I can't predict what anyone's gonna do when they leave here, right? So, but for that, I don't know if you can help speak with this too, with your experience. More often than not, that's not the reaction, right? We arrest people daily for things. I don't think you've had a broken window after each arrest you've had. It's not really a common situation by any means. And we never want someone to feel they can't call because of that. I get that, because we have victims of other types of crime that will not call because of fear of that, right? So I can definitely respect that. Some people don't want to get involved with police because of fear of retaliation. I would be ignorant to say I don't understand that, right? But we don't want you to feel that you can't call because of that. That is for sure.
And it's more likely that if you don't call,
They're gonna keep coming
especially for
back.
you have high-end items in there, that they're gonna think, well, they didn't even,
Yep,
wasn't
I can hang
reported.
out
I'll wait
here.
till they replace those, and I'm gonna go break in again and get the new stuff.
And they'll tend to hang out there more,
Yeah.
because they'll hang out places that they're not bothered, just like anyone would, right? So if no one's bothering them or asking them to move along, then why wouldn't they move along? Because the other 10 businesses did, right? So, but never hesitate.
Appreciate it.
no, my gosh. And, because I'll even do that on my own without having anyone call me, because common sense tells me you guys don't want someone hanging out in your vestibule, right? Because you want business to go in. So we do that, and we have great relationships with the people, so.
That being said, if there are windows being broken, report that too. So
Yes, oh, 100%,
That's the theme over the last 2 days, is
Yeah.
make the call.
yeah.
Make the call, help inform the police, and help
Well,
yourselves.
especially with this online reporting, that's,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be on hold or anything.
And it's knowledge is power for everybody. Because then if we know that more negative situations, it's not always crime, just loiter, anything like that, just is happening, then we can be where we need to be. There's no sense me being somewhere where I'm not needed, right? I mean, everyone pays us enough to be where we're needed, and we want to make a difference, right? So we want you guys to feel like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, since I told them that, since they reacted to this, it's been better, right? So 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a question.
Oh, actually, you know the washroom is.
Actually, you gotta go to the food court, because the ones that are in here are,
Thank you.
you gotta go through the one at the food court.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop you there.
Yes.
Because I did kind of promise, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna quickly say, like, it could be a sign of something organized, if someone's breaking windows after you call the police, that there's a little gang starting up or something. So it is very important to get this information.
Information is just important
Yeah.
in general, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're getting that, so
Yes.
thank you so much.
No,
And I
thank
did-
you for having me.
Oh, no problem. We've got a couple of minutes left.
minutes.
Couple of minutes. Nancy, are you good?
I'm good. I'm just gonna let these guys kind of wrap up,
Did you have more comments? Did you want to add to what?
take away.
Well, it's like, Michelle, it's like we planned our presentation, but we've never met before, because the next slide actually says knowledge is power. And what we'd like you to do.
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
We should go on the road.
Yeah, we
Should,
could.
yeah.
We just wanted, we don't have to have this discussion because we only have a few minutes to wrap up. But we want you to go away and really think about what's the one thing that you would do differently based on our presentation today, based on hearing everything from Michelle. What's something that you would do differently? And we just really, we want to empower you, so we encourage you to go away and think really strategically and really critically about what will I do differently now? Because Pierre and Nancy put this on so that we help to improve community safety. So we just ask you to take that away with you.
And just in closing, I'd like to say I'm glad that we went first because you're a hard act to follow. It's too bad that you don't like your job. But if there is only one thing you take away from here today, it's that you have a tremendous resource here with a lot of passion that wants to be here. And she wants to hear from you, and her partners would want to hear from you as well. So it's a great partnership, and you're very lucky to have that.
Do you guys have any data on owner-occupied businesses? Like, and I know, like, here you would have two businesses, so you can't be two places at once, and more than one employee in the store, how that would impact theft. And the other thing I guess I'll just take a comment on is I'm happy to hear that this will become an internal group for some of this, because if you want to increase and support the resilience and vitality of the Uptown, putting this out on Facebook scares your customers away.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the balance of it. So that's where the communications in a more precise.
Well, thank you for your comment, because I was actually going to kind of look at you, Mayor, and say, did you want to add to what we've been talking to today? And again, I really thank you for being here. But this initiative, like I have to tell you, like it resonates so strong with us that the city has put these resources in this Uptown area for us and for the community here. You know, when we first started this focus group, it was about how do we move the needle? How do we get the police or the city to invest resources in Uptown? And next thing you know, you did it without us pushing. So now instead of pushing you, we're actually going to work with you, because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a 1-year pilot, right? Right. So it's a 1-year pilot. So we have to show up. Like we really have to show up as business owners. You know, and we may think it's on point, and, you know, Corey, I'm just going to use you because I was chatting with Corey, and Corey goes, well, you know, I'm not sure I'm going to go. I don't really get much stolen. And I'm like, whoa, it's not just about stolen. It's about safety. It's about our businesses. And, you know, thank you for showing up and saying, you're right. You're like, you know what, I should show up. And if we don't show up, the message is the wrong message, right? We're saying, oh, no, there's no problem. And if we don't call, we're sending the wrong message as business owners. I don't want to be the squeaky wheel, but I do want to be the squeaky wheel, right? We don't want to say, oh, Uptown is dangerous and it's full of crime, because we want people to come uptown. But on the flip side, there's criminality everywhere, and it affects us as employees or business owners. So we need to show up. So as Michelle said, I can't predict future behavior, but I'm going to make a strong ask from you that your future behavior should be to pick a date, show up, listen, and make a comment. And even if the comment is, thank you for the resources that you're putting forward, I can feel a difference, or my business will feel a difference. That is also a very good comment. It doesn't have to be criticism, but reinforces the fact that this is welcomed, and we need not a pilot, we need a permanent fix. We need this to be embedded in the budget for the city police. We need it on their strategic plan. And as I said, I read the previous strategic plan. I looked at the bubbles, great initiatives, but property crime, I told you at the beginning, went up the last couple of years, and that's based on the annual reports of the police, not my numbers. So what they were doing, some of it worked, some of it didn't work, and obviously they're shifting their strategy a little bit more, and I welcome that. But as business owners, we have to show up and say, this is great, we applaud it, we're going to support it, we want permanent funding, right? That's the next steps. Yeah, please.
Just for a bit of context, probably about 20 years ago, we took a little kid from Belfast. He was Irish, Catholic, and we did the exchange. And when we took him to the market, he said, if we were in Belfast, there'd be a cop at every one of these shops. And so, here, we've been so lucky for so long. And so this, I find, is really helpful, because there's a lot of practices that store owners need to change as well.
Yeah.
To sort of keep up with it, because we're now exposed to it and we're not used to it. And so it's everyone's responsibility, like you talked about. So I find this really informative and helpful. So
And family, right? The community is a huge family. We're all different parts of the family. St. John is gorgeous. It's beautiful with beautiful people. I'm hiring her.
Yes.
And it's like, I can't. That's why I love this job so much, because every person is. This city is just amazing, and we can keep making it even more amazing.
Go ahead.
Right? Yeah. Bravo.
Yeah.
Just a quick word of caution on the stats. Pierre mentioned that property crime was up 27%, and where you say this is a one-year pilot, if at the end of that pilot your measure is that the property crimes reported didn't go down, doesn't mean it's a failure. Right. It could very well mean that your partnership with police is so much better that people that weren't reporting crimes before are now feeling comfortable to report them. So don't base your decision, Mayor, on whether this would continue or not based on those stats alone.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, and that's very true in public safety. Is the stats, can actually just mean people feel more comfortable online reporting, so there's more crime because there's more reporting because it's easier to do. We've been messaging yesterday and today, call the police, right? Call them. So obviously, again, we're probably going to up your numbers, but the mayor will also be looking, and city council, at the numbers of calls and assistance when they make these decisions, if there's value, right? So, and the other thing, the other takeaway, and I thought about this, is when I went back to the store after yesterday's presentation, and I actually looked around at some of Don's comments about, oh, you know what, I said, oh, we should have staff only on this door. And I just kind of did a walk around, and I noticed, a couple little things, right? Just a few little things. And, as Corey said, we've never thought about bars on the second floor, right? Never thought it was a thing. So, I know we deal with this and we try to protect our stores, but there's probably just a little tidbit, just walking around with the knowledge you have today and what you heard people say, there are probably a few little things you can say, oh, I probably could move this over here, or I could probably angle the camera differently, right? Whatever. So I hope you've enjoyed the session. I really want to thank Uptown St. John. They funded this. Uptown St. John, this was not on their strategic plan, right? Safety, they do a lot of initiative. But Nancy and her group and her board really have embraced the fact that their members, this is a priority for us, and they've shifted a little bit of their things to put on this workshop. She's already talked about other initiatives, and we will be creating a WhatsApp group. Forget the Facebook thing that kind of, may not be the best things. What are my takeaways? It's like, okay, that's not the best tool. But again, please show up, right? And thank you for showing up today. Very much appreciated.